Houston. Everybody said. कैसे हैं? How are you?
I'm okay now.
Yeah?
I just got 3 a.m. last night.
So you're on the go.
Yeah, slept like 7 a.m. सुबह में सोया मैं
पता मुझे वीडियो of Houston आता है ऐसा ही चलता है. Last time you were like getting barely any sleep. But you're here all week, right? Inshallah.
No, I leave Monday, no?
Oh, you leave Monday? Oh, you're here for Monday.
Guys, he made a camera.
You're
They made a camera.
here.
Look, you can't go in the camera. Don't go
No,
in the
Monday,
camera.
man.
Yeah, don't go. You're about to find out. You're about to find out.
But chaliye, at least come be able to come relax.
Monday नहीं मंडे मैं कोशिश करता हूँ फोन करता हूँ ठीक है इंशाल्लाह थैंक यू
Every day.
It's your job to get some.
यार ओके oh man I need to get that IV to
I want you to go there.
अरे मैं अभी Costco से आया ले लेता हूँ. मैं ले लेता हूँ.
एक काम मेरा हो गया
नहीं, I'll do it. Yeah.
You're not going to camera.
अभी तो I literally I'm coming from Costco कल
no.
तो
Why
आया
did
ही
you
मैं.
not
No, it's fine. मैं ला लेता हूँ
Don't,
लेकिन.
just don't
ले लेता हूँ
go.
मैं.
Yes,
Costco
look.
से भी चलता है वो.
I see
Yeah, ला लेता हूँ मैं. No issue. Happy to. कैसे थे आज के मजे?
it was good
अस्सलाम वालेकुम. आजा कोई नहीं.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम
Live.
Houston?
Top fans. Let's say top fans.
No.
It's to go to
Raffles.
Do you want to bring you one? I'll give it to you.
Can you go here?
I think you pay 35.
If you do like right there, it's mix.
So
Do move.
we all contribute
Just go in the camera. Go in the camera.
community ticket.
Go in the camera.
Keeps the spirit.
It's cool.
Go to
Just kidding. No.
Talking about the
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Don't just go in the camera. Just
अकेले.
Mario.
I didn't go. She went.
मेरी mom ने जाना था पर उनका visa deny हो गया and mine got accepted. Yeah.
Because they have a new process now.
She was like, Mom was saying I wanted you alone.
They have a new process now, and they've raised their fees again. Yeah.
It's like you
Everything's online.
Oh, you went to
First day
the
she
camera
went, first day
right
of the system.
there.
So she got lucky.
What are you doing? Yeah, pray, Maddie. Don't take a picture. Can you pray?
Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar.
Hello.
Maybe inshallah in the same week. We'll get to have- we'll get to spend
I saw someone in camera.
more
Hello.
time.
Testing 1 2 3.
That's the elders.
1 2 3.
आपका ही घर है बस. We have a yeah. आज भी आ सकते by the way.
Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3.
Oh, you're hanging out with the cousins. Oh, अच्छा. That's why you kept your white beard for to hang out with the elders.
Testing.
नहीं चलो, that's good.
Testing 1 2 3.
Yeah, inshallah. Yes.
We can take you to a meal or something.
शाम में मंदिर के बाद तो वहीं हूँ
हाँ, perfect.
आपकी flight
आपकी मस्जिद मगरिब से पहले है. IC में मगरिब के बाद.
9 o'clock or Sunday they change the time
मैं आपसे
sometimes
no
sometimes on Sundays
I have them on
centers
yeah,
change the time
yeah I know they're advertising you, so let me check. आपकी मैं आपकी तस्वीर मजलिस पे रुखीब डालना था क्योंकि एक और की मजलिस का रुखा है आपकी तस्वीर के साथ.
oh really I
Yeah.
don't even know मैंने शुरू कर दिया
Okay, sure.
या अल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह
आवाज़ बुलंद से दुआ.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
मैं वहाँ से गुजारिश करूँगा कि आज की तकरीर शुरू करें. एक और बुलंद नारे से बात.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله. أوله بلا أول كان قبل وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعد. الذي خسرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ورعاة الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين من على إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فالله يجيرنا ويجيركم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. The series of our discussion, that the topic that we have chosen is justice, is adalat, and it's a very key central phenomena in our Shia Islam. That's why it is part of our usul al-din. We have Tawheed, Adl. Adl is nothing but that very extension of Tawheed. Tawheed and the existence of Allah, without the Allah being Adil, doesn't make sense. If Allah is there, He has to be Adil. He has to be just. So the justice of Allah from a theological perspective, let's say, is within the nature of God to be just. So Adil, justice, has been one of the most one of the most discussions that in theology that people have differed about. There are a lot of difference of opinion in regards to justice. And for example, you have the school of the Ash'arites. They have a different understanding of justice. You have the school of Mu'tazile, the theological schools. There are different theological schools, like the theological school of Ash'ari, the theological school of Mu'tazile, the theological school of Imamiyyah. We have the Imamiyyahs. You have a different conceptualization and understanding of this phenomenon of justice. So it's one of the most critical reality discussed among the theologians. For example, there is no difference of opinion when it comes to oneness of God. So we all believe it's one God. But when it comes to theology, adalat, justice, one would introduce or project or understanding of adalat differs. Like for example, just one simple example, and we'll go to the concluding topic as we said for tonight. For example, one would say that whatever Allah do is just, and it is a very correct statement. So the second statement would be that whatever Allah do is just, then therefore Allah can put Musa alayhi salam in Jahannam. No, it's not possible. This is it's injustice. It's against the But the Ash'ari, the theological school, they are Muslims. They will say, no, you are limiting Allah by saying that Allah cannot do this. That's what we are saying. We are saying Allah cannot put, a good person who have done everything very good in his life in Jahannam. Right? So we are restricting Allah by saying Allah cannot do. How can you restrict Allah? It's not possible. But at the same time, we know that it's not possible that Allah can put. So the theological school of the Ash'ari, they will say that no, you can, and He can. Like for example, the lying is bad because Allah says it's lying, and there's nothing existential reality to lying being bad. However, the Mu'tazili school and the Imamiyyah school, they said that no, lying is essentially bad. In its nature is evil. Murder is in its nature is evil. It's bad. Not that Allah says this is bad, it becomes bad. There's something in the nature of that, and for it being in the nature of that is because Allah have made it that way. The way Allah created, the way Allah have basically decided it to be that. It's in its nature. Right? The gravity. You throw something, naturally it will come back. So these are one of the subtle outward, I would say, but there are many layers of it. For example, there is a major discussion of Pope, what is good and what is evil. These are discussions that goes under the discussion of Adam. How do you define good? How do you define evil as? What is the definition of it? Is something evil in its nature, or it becomes evil because Allah says it's evil, or something good is good in its nature. No, but it becomes good because Allah is saying it's good. So that is also a discussion of that, in regards to that, right? Now, the Shia theologians, they always say that certain things, or for example, you have the discussion of earthquake, famine. If Allah is just, if Allah is powerful, why is He allowing injustice to take place? Earthquake to happen, people are dying, people are being... So Allah, either He does not have power to control, or Allah is not, as what Muslims say, as good God. But He's allowing this evil thing to happen. You know what I mean? So therefore, they respond in this way. But the Shiite philosophers or theologians or scholars, they respond that this is in accordance with the hikmah of Allah. This is the wisdom. There's something in this that is because of the wisdom of Allah is like that. Allah is wise, and He made it in this fashion, that if there be an earthquake, there's some wisdom behind. For example, as they say that for the plate tectonics, for anything, for it to be there, there's a purpose of it. A snake is a snake for a purpose. If a farmer goes and disturbs, then that becomes, if bites, that becomes evil because loss of life has taken place. Or if a wolf attacks a farmer and kills, then the wolf has attacked for the food for the little ones, of the cubs. Right? Then we say, oh, this is evil happening. But there is a purpose of that. There's a reason for that to happen. And the nature of this creation is that it is created in this fashion, in order from this dense substance or this creation, we reach Kamal and perfection. As they say that, Isa alayhi salam asked, why have you created greed, O Allah? Greed is bad. So they say, greed is dead. So he says, Allah, why did you create greed? Why there is greed? Then Allah said to Isa, okay, I'm going to take greed away. I'm going to take greed away. From this farmer, look, Isa, he's in the farm working, I'll take greed away from him. So Allah, with the power, He takes the greed away from the farmer. This farmer was working, he leaves everything, and then you relax. He's just one day fast, second day fast, third day fast. He's not doing anything. So children are going hungry. That greed has to be there, for this farmer to work. It's part and parcel of our creation. That's why, there are two types of greed. There's the greed of the dunya, there's greed of ilm. And to have the greed of the ilm is good. So if we don't have greed at all, we will not even have greed for it. So we have to channel this greed towards Kamal. Make use of this quality that we have towards Kamal. That's what I love. There's love of the dunya, there's love of Agef, there's love of Agef. So if you take love completely out, there's no love at all. So that love needs to be there, but this love needs to be channeled, towards Kamal and perfection. So there are limitations in the creation, create there in order for a purpose, in order for a reason. The limitation that we find and once again, this limitation goes back to our sort of wujud, to our existence. So the theologians tend to interpret in this fashion in regards to Allah, and that's been our topic. And the prophets and the Masumin alayhi salam, they vouch and they facilitate that we all establish justice. They will not impose, they will not force us, because that is against the nature of Allah. Allah doesn't force, it doesn't make sense. It is us who have to, establish adalat and justice in ourselves, in our existence, in our wujud, in our house, in our community, in our society. And that's what we find that Rasulullah, last night we were looking at the Surah Imam Hassan alayhi salam, is for
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
It's for that very purpose. It's for that very reason. And time again, in the life of all of Masumin alayhi salam, it reached to a point that they have to sacrifice, or they have to calculate and take a step through which they can preserve Islam, preserve the Quran, save the Quran and the Ahl Bayt, and the message, which is the message of justice, which is very central, and that's what Imam Hussain was saying, hayhat, far away, be away from zalala, zillat, which is actually injustice. لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah created Bani Adam as an honorable creation, and the zalalat should be far away from Bani Adam. Adam is an honorable creation, but if we indulge in something that is animalistic or something that is unjust, zulm, there's no honor for man. If an insan does zulm, it's not honorable position for this person. That's why, even to the extent when you look at it, for example, tarkul awla, it's also especially, which means that somebody who have that status, that maqam, somebody who is senior, somebody who is elder, somebody who is a Maulana, for example, and then behaves in a very childish way, immature way, for instance. It's not honorable for an elderly person to, he comes here with a tank top and a t-shirt, for example. It's like what? It doesn't befit that person. Well, the person will say, oh, is it haram? Where does it say? Show me. Is it in the Quran? It's not an honor for that person to behave in that fashion. It's right that is a bit of, inclining towards, one would say, it's not just. It's not, because justice means everything in its right place, right? I remember even when, we used to buy bread home, standing in line. While going home, we used to eat bread while walking. The ulama in the past would say that, the adalat is saqib. You are no longer arguing because while walking you are eating bread. You shouldn't be doing that, with respect, right? So it even goes to those subtle realities that one have to measure, one have to, consider in taking steps in carrying oneself in good, right? So that's why we find that zalalat and the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salam all for that very purpose, that people understand what justice is, that people speak against injustice that is taking place, and Amar bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, one of the places that it come about, that we execute is there, that commanding good and shunning or abandoning evil. And they say, if you cannot do anything about the zulm that is taking place, you have to voice against the injustice. Through at least this way, you will keep your humanity alive. What is wrong, and one have to speak about and advise, right? So Imam Ali alayhi salam, his qiyam was all for that, for the establishment of justice. Rasulullah, Imam Hassan Mushtaba, and now tonight is also, according to the many narrations, and even like I said, in the Haram of Imam Raza alayhi salam itself is each night of the shahadat of Imam Raza alayhi salam. And even his acceptance of the vice-chancellorship, the Wali Ahadi, as we say, by Imam Rashid, because Imam Rashid forced Imam. And all of these tyrant rulers, whether they be Bani Umayyah or Bani Abbas, they always thought that they will be able to defeat Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. And that always backfired. Imagine if Imam Raza was left in Medina. Then maybe the title that is given to Imam Raza alayhi salam as Alim Muhammad, that's one of the title of Imam Raza, is considered as the knowledgeable one of Alim Muhammad. That wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened. Because he will be in Medina, but Ma'mun forced Imam Raza to come to Khorasan. And Khorasan was the capital. There Imam Raza would have debates with different people of religion, non-believers, atheists, and he will prove the ilm of Ahl Bayt himself. He will defeat them. The methodology of debating, training the students to be victorious, how to debate, There's a book by one of the scholars. He calls it Ashura Marvi. Marv was the Khurasan. The Ashura of Marv is actually, Imam Raza alayhi salam. The way how Imam Hussein saved the Ahl Bayt, protected the Quran. Imam Raza alayhi salam, through his debates and through his knowledge, because it was happening in the capital, right? And people would come in from all over the Muslim, empire or nation to the capital, and that's the place where what you call Muawiyah, Ma'mun Rashid would have the debates in his court, and Imam Raza would defeat them in what you call in Hebrew, in any language that they were debating. Imam Raza would speak that knowledge and speak that language and was able to defeat them, right? So if Imam Raza was stationed or was house arrest only in Medina, at the time of the peak of Muslim Khilafat among the Umayyun and Abbasiyun, and later on they say that the peak was at the time of Ma'mun Rashid. Because the amount of tax money that the government was receiving, they say it was record high, which shows that how much the Islamic empire has spread. And in that period, you have a scholar in the capital itself, and people from all across different parts of the Islamic Ummah coming to the capital. It's like something happened in the White House or something happened in number 10. A debate happens. It spreads all over the world. The knowledge of the Ahl Bayt spread all across the Islamic empire. People were speaking about the debates of Imam Raza alayhi salam. That there was this person who is knowledgeable, who debates, who speaks, and he's in Khurasan. But Ma'mun thought that he's gonna probably bring him here, put him close, have a close watch, and will be able to control him. But actually it became the other way around. His house, his place became a source of knowledge for all different types and groups of people who would come there. So here once again we find that Imam Raza alayhi salam accepted the Wali Ahadi or the viceroyship in a way that he says that, okay, I do, because he's been forced, but he will not engage or indulge in any form of political decisions that the Ma'mun would make, because those decisions obviously is tyrannical, will be decisions perhaps which include injustice. So Imam clearly aloof himself. The Imam clearly, the 8th Imam clearly said that it's nothing to, I'm not going to engage in any sort of political decisions but once again, a very similar, pact. We find that the Khilafat will return to Imam Raza alayhi salam after the death of Ma'mun Rashid. When he offers, Imam clearly says that, is this really belong to you? The Khilafat, are we the rightful owner? The way you are saying that it will come to the Imam. Because Imam is the one who is in this. That Khilafat have been usurped. From the very beginning, from that period until we find that even. So that Khilafat, that Hukumat, that leadership, all in all, is in order that there be balance, that there be justice. Now, I mentioned last night that we want to conclude our discussions, especially as it's the culmination of the Azadari season. And Azadari of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam have given us a lot. It brings out the potential that we have, and it makes it actual. And that was the whole mission of Imam Hussein. So I would like to reflect a bit upon the Majalis and Azadari so that we participate, we commemorate, we engage with a deeper understanding in Majalis. Imam Hussein, when he was in Medina, he was in a state of potentiality. Although young. But when he reaches Karbala, he reaches the truth or reality of actuality. Yes, Imam is the Khalif of Allah, Imam is in the image and true reflection, mirroring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. Is the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. That's what the Imam is, right, in front of their kamalat. So these kamalat reach to its highest peak in the plane of Karbala. Not only he himself, with all the struggles, the trials and tribulation, crystallized and reached that maximum capacity where Shiva sits on the chest of Hussein, but still Hussein is offering life to Shiva. He is offering Shafaat of Rasulullah to Shiva. This is in order to journey the name of Ar-Rahman. Because if Allah is Rahman, then because they are Umana Rahman. In Ziyarat Jami Kabira, he said they are Umana. So Imam Hussein have to bring out that Rahmaniyat to the level that the enemy, the killer itself, is on the chest of Hussein, but Hussein is being merciful towards Shiva. To what level of merciful? To the level of offering Shafaat of Rasulullah. How much merciful Hussein is? So if this mercy of Hussein we wouldn't have understood if it was only in Medina. We understand this because he has reached to Karbala. And there we are seeing this mercy of Hussein. That is a command. That's a perfection. And that's why they say some of Maqatil report that Shiva denies and then Hussein, Hussein smiles. Smile is in the place of, as I always mention, is the Fustogar of the Kaaba. Ali could say Fustogar of the Kaaba. But Hussein smiles. Perhaps the strength of Hussein is not perhaps. But he gave that message of that smile. Right? So therefore, Imam Hussein, he himself manifested, reflected all of those kamalat to the highest peak, to the highest level. And the ashab who followed Imam Hussein, he made sure that they also reached to their potential, to their actuality, to that kamal and perfection. And also, those who attend the majalis of Imam Hussein, he made sure that they also reach their kamal and perfection. Because whatever we have, as Imam Khomeini mentioned, is from the majlis of Muharram and Safar. We all, mashallah, we have, scholars here. There's Abu Talib, alhamdulillah, may Allah bless him. Hussein is here. Why did we go? This majlis. And what we all have of this malawiyat and spirituality and our salvation is through these majalis of nonsense. Our kamal and perfection, the way we are, our behavior as a human. Look at Arba'in, the walk of Arba'in. This humanity, this selflessness, where can you find this selflessness? Where do they get this selflessness from? Yeah, there may be other issues, I'm not talking about that. This Isar. Show me a home, a people after being persecuted for thousands and thousands of years for calling the name of Hussein. They have been, the Shias have been persecuted. Why? Because they love Imam Hussein and they did majalis of Imam Hussein for thousands of years. But even after that, they still get ready to give everything for Hussein. Who is teaching this? Where do they get this from? From majalis of Imam Hussein. And what is this doing? This is bring out the goodness. This is bring out the beauty of humanity. And that's what we see. That's why it becomes the walk of love. Right? So Imam Hussein, he himself made sure that he fulfilled that journey in the best way possible. That was his responsibility, that he should do it in the most beautiful way, and he did it. And he made sure that even all those who are following him, they should also do it in the best, most beautiful way. I always tell this story of quote. Muslim Hakim, the great Maharaja of the time, visits the Haram of Hur. He says, "Oh Hur, I'm better than you." He is better because he is Sayyid and Hur is not Sayyid. Right? He says, "Oh Hur, I'm better than you because I am knowledgeable, I'm faqih. You are not faqih. Or was not faqih. He was a soldier, a mercenary. I'm better than you. Oh, I have all of the students who come with me. They follow me. Raja, you have no following the way I have. But oh, I come to you in respect. Because what you have, I don't have. You have the guarantee of being free in this dunya and akhirah. Or your mother have named you Hur rightly, as Imam says. Who made him Hur? Hussein. That's the insight and kalam of Hussein. Hussein trained, brought him up. May your mother cry on you. I would have said the same thing if your mother was not Fatima. This was potential. This love of Fatima for Hur was inside. They kept it in him. But Imam Hussein shook. And then he comes. Right? So, and then Muslim says that, oh, you have. And you have the oh, that I don't have. And that is the Rumah, that's the handkerchief of Fatima that is put on your forehead by Hussein. I don't have what you have. And that's why I'm your slave. I'm your ghulam, I'm your slave. With all this alien whatnot, who is doing that? Is Hussein. Is Imam Hussein, not me. To the level where the 6 Imam said, As-salamu alaykum ya awliya Allahi wa hibab. Who was somebody, no name of his in history. Where was he at the time of Ali or the power? Nobody knew anything. Only who came because of. Ziyad called him, don't allow them to go to Kufa, stop the army. That's where we start seeing the name of Hur started surfacing in the books of history.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
We don't know if there's any narration that, yes, in regards to his Kabila, yes, Hur, the Kabila that he belonged to, which Kabila was that, so on and so on, but Hur himself, there isn't him. But look, he was nothing and Hussein made him everything. Hussein took him to the level where the 6th Imam says, may my life sacrifice to the Ashab of Imam Hussein. And Imam al-Masur is saying, may my life sacrifice to Ashab of Imam Hussein. Hussein is doing this. Right? Imam Hussein is doing this. This also points out to when we recite in Ziyarat al-Jabiyya that, oh Imam, you change destiny. They have that power to change the destiny. That's why, we find our hajat, our du'as are answered. Because they are that manifestation of giving, of allowing us, of most of the acceptance of our du'as. If it's not there, it is given because of them, and through them. Right? Not, like I said, not only Hussein, but even he named others. One more example, and then we'll come back to the majalis, because we don't have time. Another personality, Abul Fazl Abbas. Right? Abul Fazl Abbas. Where he took him, and to what level he made him reach. Hussein did that. Yes, those qualities were there in terms of the potentiality is there, no doubt. Like as we said, there's a journey that every soul goes through. He made him reach to the point where Hussein says, Ya Kashiful Karban wal Yusuf. The one who gets rid of the, calamities and problems from the face of Hussein. Who is that? Is Abul Fazl. Sometimes the calamity, the curb is my curb and your curb. Which is what type of curb is that? I don't have this, I don't have that problem and this problem. This Wajid Hussein. We're talking about the curb and of Hussein. Who is becoming the door of hajat, of relief and release? Is Abul Fazl Abbas. Because of his loyalty, because of his service, because of his itaat to Imam Hussein, to Imamat, because of his ma'arifat of what Imamat is, because of his obedience. Right? That's why as we see that in the ziyarat You know, may Allah give us tawfiq over and over again.
Ilahi Ameen.
Abbas.
Allahi Ameen.
And it begins the sixth Imam begins by saying Salamullah.
Salamullah.
He says Salam Allah. That is a Salam Alaikum. To show the maqam and the station of who Abbas is. He's saying Allah Salam Alaikum, not Salam and my Salam to you. Then yes, you have to later on it gets to Salam Alaikum. But in the beginning is that. So who made him reach to that command in perfection? You see what I'm saying? When he becomes the Kashiful Kar, the door of Hajat, why? No, here I always say that what is the command of Ukhrawi which Abul Fazl Abbas, because of his service, was given in the hereafter? It becomes Kashiful Kar, which is a manifestation, you know, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of attending and giving and providing. He is the representation of that he has that, you know, wilayah. Then, in the dunya, for example, what do you think Abul Fazl Abbas's desire that he wants from the dunyavi point of view? That is, what do you think he wants in the dunya? He wants to call Hussein brother. Because he never called Hussein brother. Who would not love to call somebody who's like Hussein as a brother? That's why whenever we introduce somebody who's of a status or a religious figure, we claim that relationship. Here is Hussein and Abbas never called Hussein. Like I said, Imam Hussein made everybody reach their command, whether that is dunyavi command or ukhrawi command. So he tells Abbas, Abbas, all your life you never come. Before you die, come. That was Jannah for him, right? And then, we know the whole Maktar points out. So if somebody who is in the Safina Nijat of Hussein, from a dunyavi point of view, come out, you know, from the Ukhrawi point of view, that person will reach Kamal as well. In both ways. It's the Safina Nijat of ours. And, you know, as we say, it's not only those people who lived with Imam Hussein alayhi salam that they will reach Kamal and perfection, but even those in this, after 1,000 odd years, they have the opportunity, possibility, the path is open for them to reach the Kamal. What do we ask in Ziyad Ashura? Maqam Mahmud. We ask, oh Allah, give you the same sawab that you gave to the Shuhada of Karbala. We are asking in Ziyarat Ashura. We are trying to achieve that maqam and position, that qurb, that nearness, those qualities, that spirituality. Through who? It's through Imam Hussein. Because that's Ziyarat Ashura is there. You know, one of the things in the sajda that we recite, Allahumma laka alhamdu hamda shakirina lak, ala musabihim. So we are thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, you know, for this musibah that has befallen. Because through this musibah is our, you know, Jamal and Kamal. You know, as this is the Jalal of Allah, the curve, the Jamal is achieving that. Through going through this curve, you receive the Jamal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, there's a thought discussion in regards to this, perhaps when we have time. You know, the response of the Jalal is seen in Karbala, the response from Hussein is the Jamal, you know, which could even be extended when we try to analyze and reflect upon the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In every little reality, whether that be religious or not, you know, for example, if the walk of Karbala is the Jalal because it's tough, but the Jamal is when you reach and see the dome of Ababdullah. That's the Jamal. So in order to reach the Jamal, you have to go through the Jalal. That's why the path to Jannah is through hell, through Jahannam. You know, the path that will reach you to Jannah is, it will pass through Jahannam, which is the Jalal of Allah. right? So Imam Hussein alayhi salam, not only for those who were with Imam Hussein, but even those who participate, commemorate the majalis of Imam Hussein. And these majalises, as those ashab had the adab, had those etiquette and adab of being with Hussein, the majalis of Imam Hussein have adab as well. And we have to make sure that we engage with that adab and adab, with that understanding, and teach our young ones, because this azadari, this type of majalises have been transferred to us heart to heart. And there's a reason for them being in that fashion. Whether those be the masaib that is recited. One will say, oh, this is not authentic, that is not authentic. Everything is not authentic if you go in that direction. You know, one can question anything and everything. Right? So the way things have been transferred to us as a riwayat that is there, it should be upheld and it should be, preserved and transferred, rather than trying to look at the authenticity and subtracting or taking away or cutting away from those traditions that have been transferred to us. I have mentioned this couple of places as well. I will mention this here very briefly as well. Like for example, the henna, the mehndi of Hazrat Qasim. Many scholars are very critical of it. Many scholars say that, mehndi, what are you talking about and all that. But somehow, in all Shi groups or traditions or ethnicities, we have this, riwayat of, upholding or discussing the mehndi. It doesn't come, it's not the case that, just in order to create the emotionality in people, you're going to put mehndi in the middle of something. It's not like that. Or in order to create the emotionality, let's talk about the Qasim's body was galloped over the hooves of the horses. Then let's talk about all of the Shuhada, Ali Akbar body was galloped, just to bring that emotionality. It's not like that. It's based on certain valuable truths that has come to us through heart to heart, through inspiration, through reflection. This incident of Sayyid Mohsin Hakim. How deep is that? It's a reflection of Sayyid Mohsin Hakim. It's a type of mukashafa that he's talking about, trying to show the position of who is. So when we have these riwayat and things that have come to us, there is a particular reason for them being there. What is required of us is to reflect upon the rites and rituals and the way of commemoration that we have. Then we will be able to try to analyze it, try to understand the reason why it's being there. A scholar such as Allama Tawatabari, even if that weak hadith, he would practice. Even on a zaif and weak hadith, he would practice. When they ask him that, how come you are a mujtahid? He said, you don't know. You will never be somebody who says, oh, this is weak, that is weak, this. Such an intellectual person. He's a mujtahid. This was mentioned by my colleague, Sayyid Subhani, the son of Ayatollah Jafar Subhani. They were neighbors, his father and Allama. So he has mentioned it firsthand from the daughter of Allama Tawatabai, that Allama would always fold his socks. He would take the socks off, he would fold it. And they would ask him that, why do you fold your socks? He would say that there's a riwayat that says, jinn go inside the socks if you don't fold it. A man, an intellectual person, but when it comes to acting upon the weak riwayat, he would do. There's so much good in it. Perhaps when I fold my socks, then I will not take my clothes off and throw it on the floor. My wife will be happy or my mother will be happy. So if I can fold something that is little, obviously I'm going to be folding other clothes. So there's something very powerful. Instead of avoiding it, cutting it out, weed and this and that, no, we have to preserve it and try to understand why it should be there. What should be the reason? This, has become part of the rituals of the Azadari of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Like for example, mainly as I was speaking about, this has been a tradition in the northern Africa, in the Arab culture, to have and to put mehndi before meeting the beloved. Before you meet the beloved, you put mehndi, and this is in marriages that happen. So this is very symbolic that on the 7th, which is few days before meeting the beloved. So I always say it's not only mehndi of Hazrat Qasim, it's mehndi of Hussein as well, because he's meeting the beloved. There's a story of Haddad, who was the student of Sayyid Qasim Tabatabai. There's a book called Ruh Mujahadat, Liberated Soul. It's been translated in English by ICAS. Sayyid Haddad, he was in hospital, and then he tells the hospital staff, I don't want to die here. Allow me that I go to this Thursday night. So he goes home, he puts the mehndi, right? And then he pulls the sheet, puts the feet towards the Qibla, and pulls the sheet over the face, and he says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and he dies. But before that, he put mehndi. Now, at the Hajjat, I remember when he prayed, he would always have mehndi on his finger. Or Qazi, if you look at the picture even now online, look at it's a black and white picture, but you will see all of his fingers have mehndi. Because it's Sunnah of Rasulullah. So now Imam Hussein's mission is to revive the Sunnah. Right? So perhaps it could be that Imam Hussein is reminding, we all need to, although we are men, at least, let's say on Thursday night, we should just put a little bit of mehndi in our pinky. The dua that is raised with the hand of mehndi is not rejected. So much powerful. I mean, leaving aside the philosophical aspect of what is mehndi, what type of substance it has, why it gives fragrance, those things which give fragrance have a higher sort of wujud in compared to those things which doesn't give fragrance in terms of, in terms of its existential reality. We'll leave that aside. That could be also reflected, and which has been part and parcel of civilization and traditions even before Islam, right? For celebration, for meeting, for the beloved. There should be something very unique about this, this substance that is there and has been there, right? So when we have that here, we should be celebrating it. We should be preserving it. We should try to understand that why it's been there, rather than saying, what are you talking about? This is not authentic. That is not authentic. And if we had preserved it the way it has been carried out, then things would not have been added to it as it has been now. Well, right now when you look at it, I'm sorry to say, I shouldn't be using that. It looks like strange. You have all the, Chennai, what is happening is, this was never there. It was just a tradition, it was something very, why? Because when people come and try to stop it, they do it 4 times more. But if we try to preserve it and understand and transfer it, this meaning is there, but this is actually symbolic. To meet the beloved. That's what meaning is all about. Right? And if you look at the riwayat in terms of Hazrat Qasim, there are many reasons where Shaykh Mutahari have discussed that, the possibility of nikah being recited is there. Because Imam Hussain did not want his daughter to be arrested as Imam Hussain wanted his daughter to be arrested as a widow, not as not married, girl when she's arrested. So Imam Hussain left no stones unturned, whether that be little or big, whether that be from a dunya. On the day of 2 days or 3 days before Ashura, he asked Umar Isal, allow me, I will go back. Allow me, either some report says to Medina I go back. Why did you come all the way here? Now you want to go back to Medina. Right? So Imam Hussain is making sure that he's giving them a chance. That I'm not the one who wants to start the war or fight. Just leave me, I'll go back. I go back to Hind, I go to Hind, I go to here, this place or that place. Right? So that in history it should be clear that as people try to paint, it was a fight of two princes, two princes. It was a fight of two princes. Yazid was a prince, Hussein was a prince, they fought for Hukumat or something. No. Right? So the point is to really reflect and try to understand some of those things that are there on a deeper level, so that we carry them out with respect and honor and learn from these azadari and lives that we have. From Hadith Islam to Source to Salam. As we are ending this, I don't want to call season, it doesn't sound right, but we are ending the, Azadari, there's a month of Safar and then we have, Shahadat al Hasan Askari alayhi salam. So all of those things that from tabarruk, from clothes, from poetry, from the riwayat that are recited in regards to Masaib, if we reflect on each and every one of them, definitely we will find something very deep about them, about the whole philosophical and theological and mystical understanding of the Imams. Like for example, I'll just mention this to be the last one, then we'll do Masaib, inshallah, the time is running out. 8:14?
8:12.
8:12, yeah, like, I'll just leave it open. Imam Hussein and Ali Akbar. But Ali Akbar is said to be Mantiqan, Qur'an, wa Khalqan, like Rasulullah, which means that he's the Imam. As a Zahiri, outward understanding, when Imam Hussein is saying something, from a point of view logic, Khalq and Khulq is Rasulullah. He has reached that level, who is Rasulullah? Imam Hussein is not saying because of some favoritism or emotionality or sentimentality. Imam Hussein means it. When Rasul said, Rasul means it. He knows what he's saying. Imam Hussein saying things like that. That means he's the next Imam. For sure. Right? And even Imam Hussein alayhi salam, as from his calculation, that this person will be the next one. But when it comes to Allah, he sacrificed. And Allah took care of the affair. To the very weak and feeble person who was Imam Sajjad, right, at that time, at that moment, in terms of he was wounded or he was ill, he was whatever, and nothing much being mentioned from his side in regards to the, we have saying from Hazrat Ali Akbar that if death comes to us, if he was different. We don't really hear much in terms of his khutbah. There's some poetry and stuff like that, but Allah provided that insight. Because it's Imamat is the office of Allah. Allah wants. So we have to be very careful when it comes to the Azadari of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, right? And in terms of us being critical of some of those riwayat that are there, that have arrived, that have reached us. And definitely there is mu'jizah and miracle, in these majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And it is through this farsh of Hussein we go to Arsh. It is through this farsh of Imam Hussein alayhi salam we reach to the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is the barakat and blessings from these majalis. That's why they say that this is, in these majalis, Sidira Kubra, Fatimah Zahra al-Aris. Because it is the musibat, the recite of the son, because she was concerned who will recite and who will remember my son who will be slain in this fashion. And Rasulullah says that there will be people who will be commemorating and crying for shedding tears for your son, and perhaps in order to facilitate, in order to encourage, and much, much deeper, the meaning that they are there. He says that if somebody shed a tear for Hussein, his Jannat is guaranteed, his sins are forgiven, even if that tear be equivalent to a wing of a mosquito. That much power the crying have for Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. Because the 12th Imam, as we recite in Ziyarat al-Ahiyah, is someone that who cries day and night, tears of blood, because he knows that what type of loss it was. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, all his life, after he was in Medina, when he used to walk through the marketplace, the butchers would cover the heads of the sheep with cloth, because it will remind Imam Sajjad alayhi salam the head, how his father's head was severed. And Imam Zainul Abidin will go to the butcher and ask, have you given water? Because Sajjad knows it wasn't easy for Sajjad. But when Sajjad was asked that, where was the most difficult for you? What was Sajjad? Imam Sajjad said, Asham, Asham, Asham. Sham. They say, why Sham? Because martyrdom and getting slain and killed in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an honor for us. But looking at women and children without hijab and being pushed and punished in that fashion, it is not for Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Disrespect, stones and sadaqah and zakat being thrown towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And just to show the intensity of what Sajjad faced, he says that I wish my mother would have given me birth. It was so difficult for Imam Sajjad alayhi salam to be treated in that way. The ladies were treated in that way. But Zainab was there in order to protect and have that resolve and take that message of Hussein. And she enters to the Haram of Rasulullah in the end. Is that Masa'ib of how they returned back to Medina, how Bashir announced, how Bashir took the Alam of Abbas, the young little Fazl asked that, oh Bashir, why do you have my father's Alam? Where is my father? When he asked over and over again, what happened to Hussein? What happened to Hussein? Bashir said, Hussein is killed, but where was my Abbas? Then Bashir thought, give the mercy of Abbas, what happened? Zainab reaches the Haram of Rasulullah and he speaks to Rasulullah. He says, Rasulullah, I will tell you what happened in Karbala. This is how Ali Akbar was killed. This is how Qasim was killed. This is how Hussein was killed. What she did not mention On and Muhammad. She never mentioned On and Muhammad. When On and Muhammad's body was brought, she didn't come out. But when Ali Akbar's body was brought, she came out of the tent. She said, Brother, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. May Allah accept your shahada. And finally Zainab, after attending to the Haram of Rasulullah, she goes back home. That's where she opens the door and she throws herself onto the ground. And this is my own Muhammad. This was the room of own Muhammad. This was the well where there is fresh water. فاطمة وأبيها وبالها وبنيها وسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمه لمولاتنا زينب الكبرى سلام الله عليها. يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك يا قاضي الحاجات يا قاضي الحمات إنك على كل شيء قدير. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة لأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات, especially for all your marhumin, the marhumin of all of the volunteers, for marhumin of all those who have sponsored majalises in Muharram and Safar in this center and all over the place, the Zuwar of Imam Hussein Islam, their marhumin and all marhumin, al-mu'minin and all mu'minin and mu'minat. Al-Fatiha ma sabata Muhammad wa ali
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
On behalf of all Mu'min, I would like to thank Maulana Mirza Abbas for accepting our invitation and reciting these majalises, and special thanks to all the sponsors of these majalises and all of you who have attended. Thank you so much, inshallah. Tomorrow we will only have Urdu Majlis and it will be after Maghrib. Maulana Mohsen Raza will recite tomorrow after Maghrib, inshallah. We will have namaz in this hall, right here. The ladies can join in the back in just a little bit.
Does he keep?